Hello and welcome to Let's Pod This. My name is Andy Moore, friends, and welcome back. It is election season. We're thoroughly in it. Early voting is happening right now. I voted early on Thursday, first thing at like 8:30 in the morning. I went straight to the polls and walked right in. It was real convenient, easy. And I even got my little commemorative America 250 I voted sticker, which I'm going to save to wear on Tuesday.
Nice.
So I can be part of everybody else. Joined by my esteemed colleague and good friend, Emily Stacy. Hi, Emily.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right. I'm sorry, dear, whoever watches this, viewers. I am on full mom summer mode situation, so you are getting a very different Dr. Stacy than you are accustomed to. So the all natural mommingness of it all. So we're alive. We're existential. We're doing, dance recital stuff. We're getting ready to go to DC in a week or so. We being the formal we. I am, however, got roped into doing a parent-child dance in said recital on June 27th with some other of my dance mom homies. So there may actually be, photographic evidence that I cannot dance. So stay tuned for that.
That's awesome. Well, I think our listeners are understanding because many of whom are also parents. And obviously we didn't put out an episode last week because sometimes that's the way the summertime goes. And also because we've been, at least I have been kind of in the thick of prepping the population, trying to prep folks to go vote, make sure they've got the resources they need. If by some chance, listeners, you have not yet prepared to vote on Tuesday, I'm going to direct you to 3 quick resources. One is the Let's Fix This website. If you go to letsfixthis.org/vote, go to our voter hub. We've got links to the state election board, links to some voter guides. We have a voter guide about state questions. I think we linked to the Rural Schools Coalition voter guide as well. And then I'm going to add a link here in just a minute. The Oklahoman, the Daily Oklahoman, has a pretty good post or story about candidates. They have little summaries of all of the statewide candidates from both parties on there. They've done interviews with a ton of people. It's a pretty good resource for especially those statewide races. And they also have links to some of the down ballot races as well, like the state legislature, county races. So I'm going to add that to the website today as well and send out an email blast for anybody else. And then I think NonDoc has done these really great, they've called them cheat sheets, but really good kind of deep dives into candidates for a bunch of races. And so if you live somewhere where you've got a legislative race that you were interested in, that's a good place to check because they actually had some reporters do some of the reporting on those local, state legislative races, which are going to appear on the ballot. So it's a big deal. Emily, I thought today our plan would be just to kind of go through these and give our predictions. And then next week we can come back after the election and see if we were correct.
Yeah, I think that hedging would be a good time. I think that's all we do anyway, so why not? I am desperately, I know I saw this, I did not have a fever dream. At some point on the socials, maybe yesterday, I saw, and I don't know where the source was, obviously, I really believe that Kevin Stitt made endorsements yesterday, and some of them were not what we expected. Obviously, Starling and the AG race, but again, I said, I don't know, dude. I feel like this was a fever dream. I swear I'm getting sleep, but I know I saw this somewhere. I'm gonna have to find it.
I believe you. I'm looking on his Facebook page.
Eating me alive.
And I have not.
I mean, maybe it was an AI. Maybe I got AI deep faked.
Oh, that could be. Who knows? He has weighed in on several races, and it is interesting because I have heard from several people that that a lot of voters and a lot of politicians are upset, or I guess they see Governor Stitt as a bit of a lame duck, as he is in the last several months of his governorship, and that they are trying to not get his endorsement, or they're trying to say like if he's attached, if he likes him, then I'm against him, that kind of thing, which I think is
Yeah.
interesting. I had a conversation yesterday with a Republican former legislator about this and kind of what they're seeing on the ground, and I thought it made me think of Governor Fallon's last term, where she left office at pretty low approval rating, like something like 19%,
Yeah.
when she termed out in 2018. And I mean, I think her image kind of got rehabbed in the
Mhm.
years since, but she was very unpopular then. And it was almost like a third rail where no one really wanted to be associated with her because of that. And so to have it drive any kind of influence in the election was um, a bit of a game of hot potato.
Mhm. Yeah, I do think it's interesting the trend of um, waning popularity, especially, and I'd be interested to see the correlation between the widening influence from the national level
Hmm.
and the it leading to the unpopularity of very local governors, right? You have to be a governor for the state, and the citizens of the state first, and you can't really do all of the shilling for the national party. And that's been something that I think has plagued a lot of Oklahoma, governors in recent years. So yeah, it's almost like the George W. Bush effect, right? I want to fade into the background. I don't want you to run for me. I don't want you to campaign for me. You
Right.
are the pariah at this point. Obviously, like you mentioned, the image has certainly rehabilitated itself. George W. Bush painting veterans in his old age and being homies with Obama unexpectedly.
Right.
Those things have certainly rehabbed him. I'll be interested to see, and certainly Mary Fallon as well. Is beloved by most folks at this point. She can't do any more harm, quote unquote.
Right.
Um, so at this point, she's welcome in most of those circles again. And so we'll see if Kevin Stitt can sort of make that jump after his term is over. I don't think it's going to be an immediate embrace. Obviously, nobody's really asking. As I've mentioned before, we've talked about before. I've not really seen him out there stumping for folks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I think his endorsements have primarily been online. And
Mhm.
everyone wants Trump's endorsement, but no
Right.
one's really seeking his. And it's also funny to me how little people speak about former governors, right? No one's talking about Governor Fallon right now. Some
Oh,
Democrats I saw got like Governor Walter's endorsement. I haven't seen Governor Henry's name invoked. People that you would think would be like stalwarts of the party that
hmm.
might have the ability to sway some things in the primary
Yeah.
um, is not there. And I don't know if this is I think you're right, like a shift towards just this national model, or if because the shift towards national model has also come with this like explicit pay to play element. And there's all this conversation about,
Yeah.
did which of the candidates for governor,
Hmm.
put in money in order to get Trump's endorsement? I
Yeah.
think that's a little bit gross. Like that's a gross
Uh-huh.
part of politics that no one really likes.
Yeah.
Um, Even if it is the way it is, it still doesn't mean voters like it necessarily.
Yeah. I also am curious to know how much of the Oklahoma Republican vanguard is, keeping hands off, particularly the gubernatorial race because of the Keating name. You don't,
Right.
Oklahoma politics is deep and it runs a long time.
Yeah.
People remember things, they hold grudges. And so if you go against a prominent name like that, those things are going to be tallied. Scores will be kept, and I'm
Right.
not that. I mean, that's just a general comment. I'm not at all suggesting that the Keatings are any different than any other Oklahoma dynastic, political family,
Yeah.
Democrat or Republican. That's politics, man. If you are on the wrong side, especially in such a huge race, and are publicly, denouncing, giving out misleading information, etc., against one of those vanguard, dynastic names, I, you know, I'm not the one. So I almost wonder if some of these folks who are smarter, right? Some of those older gen Republicans are just kind of hands off because of the Keating name, and that they understand, future politics.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's go through. Let's go top to bottom on the ballot, and we'll take turns going first since there's just two of us on here. How does that sound?
Okay.
I'm going to make you go first for governor, though. So the governor's race, and you can talk about it both. Obviously, it's a close primary, so both sides have candidates here. There's 9 Republicans and I think 3 Democrats running for governor. And let me get a piece of paper while we're talking, Emily. I'm going to write down our picks so that we can come back next week and accurately remember who we each voted for, or who we predicted, not who you vote for, who you predicted.
Right.
Who do you have?
Disclosure laws, man.
That's right.
So obviously, the Democrat, Cindy Munson. Obviously, I think that she has done an excellent job, as we've talked about before. This is one of those years where I am not of the belief that we are going to turn blue. It's not an impossibility, but I don't think that we are there yet. But if there is anybody right now in the sort of political zeitgeist that could do it, I think it's Cindy Munson. She is scrappy. She likes the grassroots. She likes the work. She has many awesome pairs of sneakers because she is no stranger to getting those steps in and talking to people. And I think that in this election year is going to be a huge part of turnout, specifically of those independent folks and conservatives who can be swayed. So affordability is one of those things that she continues to hit. It'll be interesting. Especially based on my next prediction. So, oh God, obviously the Republican primary has been delicious. It has been delightful. It has been, and it continues to be. The commercials that I'm still getting are incredible. Are they brothers? No, they're just woke and liberal. It's like, oh my God, where are we? Where are we, dude? So at this point, I'm going to make the crazy call, and I think that I'm going to go with a Mazie Keating runoff.
Okay.
I don't know at this point. I feel like we should expect the unexpected. I don't know that Drummond has done enough, and we both saw, we all saw, the disclosure heard around the world earlier this week about, self-lending to the campaign. That's massive. So I'm certainly ready, between the amount of money Mazie has spent and the Trump endorsement, to put him in the runoff. I don't know, if Drummond has done enough.
Yeah.
Especially coming, and of course, again, as more independent leaning progressive. I loved that he came out after the Trump endorsement and was sort of freeball, right? He was like calling folks economic terrorists if they are talking about eliminating the property tax, etc. So it was nice to see that shift back to exactly what we were talking about, that pivot back to the center and talking real stuff. But I don't know that did him any favors before the primary. So I'm ready. Mazie Keating is what I'm calling. What do you got, dude?
This is good. I like it. And so I would just want to confirm, you think it's going to a runoff. You don't think anyone's going to win it outright. You think it's going to be Mazie and Keating. That's fascinating. I echo your sentiments about on the Democratic side. I think Munson is the clear favorite over there. Senator Connie Johnson is a bit of a perennial candidate. She adds, I think, some necessary conversation, some nuance to the conversation that's helpful for small d democracy reasons. Yeah. But I agree. I think Munson will win that without a runoff. I think she'll win it outright.
Oh, no, not outright.
And I mean, I'm guessing she's going to get 60 or 70% of the Democratic vote there. And then on the GOP side, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I do think it's going to be Mazie, but I'm going to say it's going to be Mazie Drummond in the runoff. I think Drummond is still, there's still a segment of the Republican base that is turned off by a Trump endorsement, or at least skeptical.
Yeah.
I also think Maisie's comments in the debate, where he talked about all these school districts being run by 547 like woke liberals or whatever. I think that was just over the top and kind of scares people off.
Yeah.
The thing I'm not sure about is in the last week, these ads that Drummond's campaign has run with his wife, basically apologizing for making a donation to Biden, allegedly in Gittner's name. It just felt weird. And it felt, I was like, I don't know who pitched this commercial, but it doesn't seem like it gets you anything. Like, it's clearly aimed at trying to knock down that argument that, like, oh, you know, he donated to Biden. But I don't think most people knew about that. And now it's just like, why would you bring this up on your own? It felt very weird. And, you know, there were some really pretty well done parodies, or like online, there was a drag queen that did a video that was kind of poking fun at this. And I was like, I think it's over the top. I'll be curious to see how Keating and McCall finish. My prediction, I'll throw it out there. I'll say it. I think going 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's going to be Maisie, Drummond, and then I get real uncertain.
I think
because I think McCall, Keating, and Jake Merrick might all finish a lot closer than we'd expect.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Man.
Who knows?
McCall that's such an interesting sort of.
I heard that that on internals, McCall is only pulling at 3%. I don't know whose internals these are, but I heard that most recently he had dropped to 3%, which would be off a cliff. But to your point earlier about money, I mean, Maisie donated $11 million now cumulatively to his campaign. That's a ton of money. Yesterday on KOSU, Mark McBride was on with me, and he pointed out that spending $11 million to try to win a job that only pays like 147, is a little bit like it's 100 times more than you'll make in 1 year. Like, it's a kind of insane. And so I think that calls into question, like, why would anyone put that much money into it unless
it's a little sus.
You're getting a way to get out. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Why? Okay, let's move on to Lieutenant Governor.
Light Gov.
I can't even. This one is like so far down on the list. I'm just gonna say that I think this is T.W. Shannon's.
I agree.
Seat to lose.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I just think I totally agree with you. He got so much momentum from jump, right? He got some tribal sponsorship and it certainly didn't help that he already had the blessing of Trump whenever he came back from DC to run for this office. So I really feel like this is his to lose.
Yeah. There's a Democrat in the race, but that won't factor in until November. So we'll come back to that.
I will mention that I have seen no T.W. Shannon commercials. I have seen a Darrell Weaver commercial in the last few days. So that's been my Jeopardy addiction. And right now I watch all the commercials. So we've been speaking in some, 15-second, like, here I am, here's my name. It's a name recognition situation right now. That's when you do it a week before, you do it often, right? You run those things at least 2 to 3 times during each commercial break, and that can be really useful. So I will say that I've seen Weaver come out and buy some media. So I don't know if it'll make a big difference. Shannon's been out there. He's been on News Nation, all of the news shows. He's pretty prominent and a name. So
Trump's endorsement, and I have seen some T.W. Shannon ads. It's pretty much just like, T.W. Trump, here you go. Like,
that's fair. Yeah.
So we'll see. Okay. Up next, then, Attorney General. This is a pretty high profile race, especially. Well, it's really just on the GOP side. I know there's a Democrat in the race, Nick Coffey, that will come in November, but. Who's your pick for the primary here?
Oh, man. This has been one that I wasn't expecting. We've talked about this before. AG, it's one of those jobs that has become, as we've talked about, that sort of launch point to higher office in the state and even into national politics representing the state. And so it's been really contentious. New ads have come out this week as well against Eccles, some new swampiness, but also Starling really doubling down on raising his kids as sixth generation Oklahomans. And this one's hard. I am going to say Eccles simply because there has been so much emphasis on Starling not being a native Oklahoman, and that is something that I think resonates. We're a hardy breed, we Oklahomans. I know you're a Texan. Technically, we have accepted you, and we love you, Andy. But we Oklahomans, we are. I don't know. We're not necessarily insular because, of course, we're very inviting and all of those things. But I think when it comes to our politics, we take that seriously. And so I don't know if the painting him as such a DC oriented outsider, I think that's probably going to have a bigger impact than folks expect.
Yeah, I think this race is going to be really interesting as well. I'm also going to pick Eccles just because I think he's got the name ID and he's got a constituency already built in from representing House District 92 for so many years. Was it 92? Whatever district he represented.
Yeah, 92 or 93, one of those two.
Something like that. Maybe 92 was Forrest Bennett. Anyway, whatever that is, Southwest Oklahoma City. But having been there for 12 years, I mean, he's got a lot of name recognition. I do think, and I think Jeff Starling, I mean, he is a former litigation director for Devon Energy. He was Governor Stitt's Secretary of Energy and Environment. But again, that Stitt connection might be working against him here. There are anti-candidate PACs, not in support of, but in opposition to both candidates. So like you said, outside money. I think, we've seen the AG's race become a bit of a springboard for future runs for governor, with Gittner Drummond, with Mike Hunter's aspirations, with Scott Pruitt, but, like Drew Edmondson, like this is a long time thing. Yep. So I think if you are looking at who's going to be in a good spot to run for governor in 4 or 8 years, whoever wins the AG's race this year will be interesting. So I'm going to pick Eccles, and I'm going to go ahead and say that I think this race is going to be really competitive in the general as well.
I agree. I agree.
It's going to be interesting, and we may have some really good debates out of it. I think it'll be very interesting. Okay, let's do insurance commissioner. Now there's 4 Republicans there. The incumbent, Glenn Mulready, is not seeking re-election. I think he's terming out. But the 4 candidates who are going to replace him all have some insurance industry experience, some more than others. Is it my turn? I'm going to say, I really don't know. Because I don't know if the one that I personally want to win is going to do well or not, but I think it's going to be closer than people expect. And I wouldn't at all be surprised if this goes to a runoff.
Me either, honestly.
I think I'm going to say, I think Marty Quinn is going to be the top, but I kind of think it might go to a runoff between Marty Quinn and Greta Schuler. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay. I like that. The hedging. I would say I agree with you. I do think that this is closer than a lot of folks are imagining because a lot of folks just don't pay attention to this, unfortunately. I have seen Chris Meredith ads where he does come off, in a nice suit and seems very trustworthy, etc., and has that, breadth of experience. So if it does go to a runoff, I am inclined to say Quinn and Meredith. Quinn has the name obviously built in from the state legislature. So that's where I would land on that. But I'd be very open to your pontification.
Well, I wouldn't be all surprised. Meredith was definitely in the mix for me. He has been using the talking about just insurance premiums going higher, and talking about like fraud and abuse and that kind of stuff, which I think that phrasing has been a big deal for a lot of
It
people.
resonates. Yeah.
Yeah.
Regulars. You can't just talk the jargon. You got to talk the regular stuff. We also, by the way, speaking of that, we really need to hit on the 832 campaign. Damn, those commercials. Oh my God. Not a man in sight. It's all women, and it's so genius. It's so
That's
genius.
Let's
on the Yes campaign, it's been just incredible to watch. I'm sure there are somebody's going to clock me. I think there was one at least.
There was one. There was a guy. Yeah.
More prominent commercials, the ones that I think a lot of folks remember, but specifically working women remember, are the ones that feature women in that same mothering, grandmother, that maternal position of, having to work, not being able to afford ends meet, looking towards retirement, not being able to do those things. It's been an incredible push to watch just in the last couple of weeks. Sorry. I was derailed, but I got excited.
Well, since we're on it, let's just, I had it on the list after the candidates, but let's do it right now. This is a good point. Do you think 832 is going to
I do. I do. I really do. And I think a lot of folks are going to be very upset about it. But yeah, I think it passes.
I'll be honest. I am like, on any given day, I can argue myself in or out of this both ways. I think because I expect that the result might come down much like Medicaid expansion, where it's like, it's 50% plus one, right? It's like 50.
Oh yeah.
50.84% yes, or something like that. Like I wouldn't always snuck out that way. Since I've got to choose, for the sake of balance, I'm going to say no, but I hope that I'm wrong. Obviously, I'm a supporter of this, but I think because of the inflation messaging that the opposition has been using, I think and I've talked to a bunch of business owners who are like, hey, I pay my people more than that. But as a business owner, I'm nervous about this. And I'm like, well, if you already did it, like, what's your argument against it if you already do it? And it occurs to me that for many people, it's not a logic reason. It's like a vibe where they're like, I know it's fine. Like, I'm already doing it.
Right.
But I think, no one's going to say, if I didn't have to, I wouldn't. Right. And it's like, well, you don't have to. Except that they pay that much so that they can be competitive and like attract good employees.
That's what capitalism is, right?
But that's different than them wanting to pay what they believe to be a fair wage, right? And for a lot of small businesses, there is downward pressure on that bottom line and on wages because their margins are low, and because their costs, their non-personnel costs, have gone up with, especially if you importing anything, all this kind of stuff. So it's like, listen, we've had to raise we're trying not to raise prices. Our costs have gone up. If my labor cost also goes up, I'm going to have to raise prices again. And, I have friends that own restaurants who have raised prices 3 times this year. And now they're at the point where they're like, we can't do it. No one's going to come. Like, and so anyway, that's my, if you're not watching the video stream here, just know that I'm giving a grimaced face.
Very pained.
Yes. Okay, let's do state treasurer then. This is between incumbent Todd Russ and challenger, who happens to be the incumbent state auditor and inspector, Cindy Byrd.
What's your hot take?
Ooh, okay. Is it my turn to go first? I guess.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna make you do this one.
I'm going Byrd on this one. I think that Todd Russ's name has become mud. I have not heard anyone of any party speak positively of him, both openly and the little behind the scenes conversations people say. Everyone's kind of like, and even if they don't have an opinion of him, they're like, I don't know him from Adam, but a lot of people don't like him, which is wild. I mean, this was a race that was not expected to be competitive, and then Cindy Byrd jumped in at the last minute. And I think in an environment where people are increasingly aware that a lot of grifting is occurring, right? All of these sweetheart deals, contracts going to the elected officials' buddies, those kinds of things. Anyone who can come in and say, hey, we're going to audit this. And guess what? I've been doing audits for the last 8 years. That's a powerful message.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree. I will mention Russ, again, has some last minute adds up again. What I find interesting is that the dude is literally down the street from the Capitol, right? This commercial, it looks like my really bad, I'm trying to hide my situation, green screen. It's a green screen of the fourth floor rotunda that he is sitting in. Like, you couldn't go to the Capitol?
Like, well, no, but I don't think you're allowed to. You can't use state property in campaign stuff, which is why J.J. Humphries.
Well, that is true. So then why green screen it? It's bad. I don't know. It's off-putting. It's an entirely off-putting situation.
That is funny. So you're picking Bird as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And just as a data point, a May 7th poll showed Cindy Bird with a 17-point lead over Todd Russ. That was from Pat McFerrin. He said it's because of her name recognition, which is probably true. People might know her name from the news. They probably don't know the state treasurer's name, which is a hazard of the job, right? It's tough for the treasurer to get their name out there. But in that poll, like 39% of voters were undecided. And so we'll see. But I just think, sometimes it's tough to be a politician for a race that's not very visible, which of course begs the question, should we elect this position at all? Who knows? Okay. Up next, then, we'll do state superintendent. And it's your turn to go first on this one. There are 7 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Feel free to give. Do you need names or do you have them in front of you?
No. I pulled it up. So I was actually in attendance to the GOP primary debate that Non-Doc put on for the superintendents. This one's hard for me because I have an affinity for Adam Pugh. He's my favorite conservative, as I love to refer to him. So the debate, I don't know. I think this is another one that could go to a runoff. It's just simply because there are too many of them and so many of the names are unknown. I will tell you, the number of, how do I say this affectionately? Wackadoos? I'm not choose a word. The number of questionable candidates in this primary, just see Non-Doc debate footage, right? They're on YouTube. Go watch because you'll know exactly what I'm clocking. I do think that John Cox has a pretty decent chance. I do think if it comes down to a runoff situation, it would probably be him and Pugh, to be quite honest, simply because Pugh has a little bit of a name as, Ed chairperson and the state Senate, etc. And being very vocal during the Ryan Walters saga, tenure, whatever you want to call that. So he did have some quotes out there, etc. So I'd be surprised if this doesn't go a runoff, just given how many candidates there are. But yeah, I think John Cox, he's got the history, the experience. He talks the talk, and the teachers. I should mention that the debate was actually sponsored by I can't remember which teachers group, but a teachers, K through 12 teachers group here in the state. And so the audience was largely Oklahoma educators from across the state. So that worked out really nicely. And they did seem to be very reactive to John Cox, just, an informal, poll of the room. So McFerrin was also there that evening. He probably had a similar takeaway, just sort of given the reaction from the audience. So
so do you think it's gonna be Cox and Pugh 1 and 2?
Cox and Pugh, I think.
Okay. I'm similar. I'm gonna go with Robert Franklin and John Cox 1 and 2. I think we'll go runoff between those two. I like Adam Pugh as well. I just have this is on vibes mostly. I think it's tough for people from the urban areas, even Edmond, to run for statewide office. It's still a bit of a liability. We'll see if I'm wrong about that. Pugh certainly has a lot of name recognition and has been a champion of public education, I think somewhat publicly through his position in the state Senate. But I think that Robert Franklin, because he's been, different levels in the education system, He's an older,
Yeah.
man that has really highlighted improvements in teacher workforce. That's won over a bunch of people. I know a bunch of like pro public ad Republicans that are pretty
Mhm.
vocal about him, but it seems to be fairly evenly split between him and Cox. And so that's my guess. And then on the Democratic side, um, there's two candidates,
Yeah.
uh, Jeanette or Janetti Marshall and Craig McVeigh, who's the former superintendent El Reno. I think McVeigh
Yeah.
is going to
I
win.
think, yeah, McVeigh for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, then we're working our way through. Did I miss? There's a race for labor commissioner, right?
There it is.
Because one of the guys I know has run previously, but I did. The Oklahoma does not have much about them on their on the website. Do you happen to have a
I'm
clue
on the
about what they are?
Voice. I'm on the Voice, and I have their just sort of their blocks of candidates, but they have a
Yeah,
few more as well. On this one, I will mention again Jeopardy addiction. John Pfeiffer or Pfeiffer has a cute little ad out about how to pronounce his name,
Mhm.
and so it literally is a 15-second. Is it Pfeiffer? Is it Pfeiffer? Pfeiffer? And it's just local folks. Well, we don't care what his name is. He's good for the job, right? And so it's one of those very Oklahoma down homey kind of commercials. So I think that may get him some sort of press, but I think it's probably Kevin West, again, a former legislator. I think that he's probably got that one
Oh, interesting.
in the
Kevin
bag,
West.
likely. Yeah.
I was gonna say John Pfeiffer was my guess. I had not even considered Kevin West would win this. I mean, that's on me, but that's very interesting. I saw that Tim commercial too because it kind of ends with like it's like the old Schlotsky's commercial, right? Where it's like funny name, serious sandwich, but he
Yeah.
says like he's like funny name but serious job or something.
Yeah. It's cute. It's really cute.
Yeah, the other two candidates, Keith Swinton is the one who has run previously, and I remembered his name because in 2018 when he ran against Leslie Osborne when she won,
Yeah, right.
and I remember there was a debate, and that we helped co-host with NonDoc, and I'm looking at the poster on my wall right here, and it was the June primary debate, I think. And there was several questions where they like ask somebody else and then they asked Swinton and he was like, I like her answer. Like it was just like, no, that was a better answer than mine. And he was just such an honest guy. And by the end, it felt like he had been persuaded to vote for her as well, which I thought was interesting.
That is
Yeah. And so, but I think John Pfeiffer is going to win. I think him as a legislator, and his name stands out. And I do think in this caustic political environment, having a warm and fuzzy commercial might be just enough. People are like, I don't know, this guy made me laugh. I'm going to vote for that. Because
fair.
most folks don't know what the labor commissioner does at all.
Fair. Totally fair.
Okay, and then we've got corporation commissioner, and this one there are 2 Republicans and 3 Democrats running for corporation commissioner. And so this will be kind of interesting. I think for me on the Republican side, I suspect it'll be Republican former legislator Brad Bowles.
Yeah, I agree.
Is my guess, just because he's the only one that has much name recognition. The other guy, Justin Hornback, I've never heard of besides seeing his name on the internet. And then on the Democratic side, I really don't know. I think Rhonda Eastman is my guess. But I don't know much about these candidates, nor do anyone I know much about these. I know Harold Spradling has run before a few times. He's kind of a perennial candidate, and I think he's quite a bit older than most other candidates. And I think voters are, if they know that about him, then that is like not an asset, especially among Democratic voters.
Right now, it is certainly a conversation about ageism going on in our politics. So yeah, I'll agree with you on that one.
You said so. You agree on both of those?
Yeah.
We're so exciting. Okay, well,
I know.
that's all of the statewides. We should also talk about, well, it's not all the statewides, those are the state level statewides, but we should talk about
Right.
US Senate and then some of these um, uh, congressional races too. Does that work?
Sure.
So US Senate, this is the Senate seat vacated by Markwayne Mullen when he got appointed to run the Department of Homeland Security. There are quite a few Republicans running, 5 Republicans and 5 Democrats. This will be an interesting race. What do you think?
Will it though? I mean, I think at this point Kevin Hern has won this race. So
Yeah.
I'm not I mean, sure, Andy, it'll be interesting. No, I think Kevin Hern wins, both hands down. In terms of the Democrat, probably Jim Priest.
I mean, if it goes, I wouldn't at all be surprised if the Democrat side goes to a runoff between Priest and Jasmine Thomas.
Okay.
In fact, I'm gonna put that down as my official guess. I don't think anyone on that side has enough to go more than 50%, so I think they'll split.
Okay.
But I think Hearn's got it, stitched up on the right. That's crazy. Okay, CD1, Congressional District 1. This is the seat being vacated by Kevin Hern, so he can go win this U.S. Senate seat. This is a super crowded field. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Republicans running, which is nuts.
I think this one definitely goes to a runoff, right? And I think it's Laymeyer, and I think it's probably Jed Cochran.
Okay.
Laymeyer because of the Trump connection.
Yeah, so Laymeyer got the endorsement. I'm going to say also a runoff, but I think it's going to be Laymeyer and Kim David.
I hope that's the case. Cochran comes from good background. He's coming from DC. He's worked for congressional staff up there. He's got good bona fides. So that's kind of why I put him ahead of Kim David. He's got probably some of that outsider money that she may not have access to. But I'll be happy to be wrong.
The other name I think in that race that might be competitive is Mark Tedford, who's a legislator. I don't know that he's going to be that competitive, but Laymeyer was someone who was a bit of an outsider when he ran for governor previously, and was seen as a pretty extreme, far right guy, and still is.
I'm not excited to be saying his name. Trust me.
I mean, this is a big deal.
It is.
And I had a conversation yesterday, Emily, with a couple of friends, and we were talking about some of these candidates, and that they recognize that the conversation that we typically have, we being voters or pundits in the media or whatever, is about who has the best or worst ads, who we like the most as a person, who, like, all these essentially superlative reasons. And the question that we often don't really think about enough as voters, that we should, is like, would this person do a good job in this role? Which I think there's people who are like, oh, well, I don't like either one of them. Or it's like, oh, I like them both. It's like, yes, but would they both do the job well? In some cases, maybe. Like, I think some of these state superintendent candidates do a great job.
Sure.
But there are a lot of people who are like, oh, they're a good politician and they could win this race, and they would be an absolute clown in this role. Now, I might be surprised, but that's why I'm trying to think about candidates a little bit differently. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so there are primaries in almost all the other congressional races, but I don't know that they're all super competitive. CD2, I think, Brookings got a challenger, but I assume we both agree that he's going to win.
I agree.
There's CD. Do you want to go in the Democrats for these that we know are going to be long shots anyway, or do you want to?
No.
Okay.
I've got a 7-year-old in the next room. We're pushing it, man.
Okay, well, we'll wrap up here. CD3, Frank Lucas has a challenger, Wade Burleson, who I think has run before. I don't think
I looked him up. Viable after Lucas goes away. Certainly, he's a retired pastor for Emmanuel Baptist Church in Enid. Like he's kind of a bigger deal. Has been president of the Baptist convention in Oklahoma. But I think obviously the incumbent's got it. But Burleson surely could be a contender in the future.
Well, and I think that's why he's running, right? You get your name out there and start building a base.
Exactly.
Like there's a strategy here that I don't think Democrats employ often enough, which is start running now when you know you're going to lose so that you're in a better position down the road.
They may not have the same kind of, cash flow as a retired Baptist.
Well, there's that also.
Some people can't just throw tens of thousands of dollars at getting their name out there, man.
Yeah. CD4, Tom Cole's the incumbent. I mean, he's chair of appropriations in Congress. Like he's going to win.
Absolutely.
There's a Democratic race.
We better win. If we are so stupid, like oh my God, can we just stop and talk about last time around and the putts that they were going to try to like put in there and completely derail our, appropriation seniority track situation. What was that guy's name? I've seen the
Paul Bondar.
Yeah, Bondar. That awful man. Like how stupid are we? How like that was even nearly as contentious as it was just a moment of stupidity for this.
Well, Bondar was backed by that billionaire out of Texas whose name is escaping me right now, but he was funding these far-right opposition candidates to run against rank-and-file Republicans. But the idea that he was trying to take out Tom Cole was almost scandalous, I think, among Republicans and even among a lot of Democrats. I might not agree with a lot of Tom Cole's policy positions, but on behalf of the state of Oklahoma, I think he's done as well as he can to represent our state and to well position us. And as I've said many times, Oklahoma really has some pretty big influence, to have Cole be chair of the Appropriations Committee in Congress, to have Mark Wayne Mullen now running Homeland Security, to have Governor Stitt be the chair of the National Governors Association. Mayor David Holt just completed his term as president of the U.S. Council of Mayors. Like we Oklahomans are showing up in pretty high profile positions, influential positions in America, more than people would expect from a little state of 4 million people in the middle of the country. So I think there's, we might disagree, but this demonstrates that things are possible we didn't think possible. So we'll go with it.
Yep.
Okay, then I think the last one that might actually be interesting is the Democratic race for CD5. There's not a Republican race. Stephanie Bice does not have an opponent. So she'll be the nominee in November. But on the Democratic side, Trey Martin is a political newcomer. He's an iron worker who came out of nowhere just 2 weeks ago with an endorsement from Bernie Sanders. And then he is running against Gina Nelson, who is former Teacher of the Year, previously ran for state superintendent against Ryan Walters. And what's interesting about that is that she actually, in that election, she received more votes statewide than any other Democrat, including the Democrat who ran for governor, which I think it's a very different race, right? But that's kind of her, superpower there. Now, CD5 is very different than it used to be. This is the second election for it, third election for it under the new maps, where it's predominantly a more of a ex-urban or rural seat than it used to be, more of a metro seat. What's your guess? What's your gut say on this, Emily?
I mean, I think Nelson takes it. She has been out there a lot longer. She's raised more money. I do think that the influx or the interference by Bernie Sanders is incredibly interesting. I think this dude may have some momentum, right? And could build a movement in the state if he really wanted to with that endorsement, if he capitalizes on it. But for this race, I think it's Nelson, and I think it's a clear win for her. And I think it'll be competitive in November. I mean, Bice is very well liked. She is leadership at this point. Is has been, at least, somebody that Trump has relied on in the past. And so I think that bias is likely to continue. It's always difficult to try to beat an incumbent in a general election, but I mean, I think it'll be competitive.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, well, Andy and Emily's predictions do not indicate our support or opposition to any of these candidates. This is just our guess on what's going to happen. Find out next week if we were right or wrong. In some future scenario, I would love to us to make predictions and give some sort of power ranking of how strong we are convinced about this, and just as I like a deeper level of analysis. That's not useful to anybody besides me, but okay. Beyond that, there's a bunch of state legislative seats, some county level seats.
So many.
The DA's race in Tulsa, I think, is interesting, between Colleen McCarty and Steve Kunzweiler, the incumbent. But we will come back and talk about all of that next week.
Indeed.
Sound good?
Primary.
Yeah, primary election. Go democracy.
Exactly.
Listeners, if you are listening to this on Friday afternoon by some chance, then you've got a couple of hours to come to the Plaza District. We will be there today doing voter registration and engagement. Come show up, come say hi. I don't know where our booth will be. We're usually somewhere near Canopy, the Canopy Arts Center, but this is a bigger event. The street will be blocked off. It should be a lot of people. It should be lots of fun. But feel free to come by for that. And then on election night, if you are at home watching, maybe you're at home watching the World Cup, or hopefully the NBA Finals will be over before then. Hopefully the Knicks will win. But I will be on OKC Fox 25. If you hop in and see me, I believe Republican strategist Pat McFerrin will be joining me. As a little on-air analyses. And then we'll go from there. Emily and I will come back next week and give a full rundown on what happened, and we'll find out how right or wrong we were.
Yay.
All right, Emily, thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Listeners, thanks for being here. Decisions are made by those who show up. We'll see you next week.